Shibanu Panya Devi Dasi Mataji, you have joined for the first time.
Yes, Mataji, first time I joined.
Thank you so much, Mataji. I hope you will like the session. If there are any suggestions or feedbacks, you can definitely let me know.
The voice is so low, Mataji.
Okay, so let me just wait for a minute, just 1 minute, because I can see we are just 4 or 5 people. If there are more people joining in, then fine. Otherwise, we will start.
Yeah.
I guess it is better to start. Probably devotees will join in sometime. It might also happen because of Janmashtami, everyone might be busy. So yes, let's get started with some prayers. Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Vishesha Shravati Pashyati Desha Dagine Om Kyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakritam Joshini Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Deepa Kadamriham Dadatu Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamanam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sarvanaraganatham Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Savitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sarvanamrita Shri Vishakhanitam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Gayati Kiram Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Vinikarinam Tahananda Chaitanya Vishwaram. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining in. This
Namaste. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, this is a very important section that we are covering in chapter 2, which is the knowledge of the soul. So, if someone can quickly give a background of what we have covered since the last classes in chapter 2. Saurabh Prabhuji, would you like to try?
Yeah, Mataji. Mataji, it all started with Arjuna lamenting for this war. He never wanted to do this because he sees everybody as a family member. So he want to avoid, and he's not feeling to fight with these family members. So he's basically, it is shown like he's totally shattered. Now, in the last class, we seen that Krishna asked him the kind of impurity he has gained. So it is not going to help him anyway. So he has to fight and do his duty, because Krishna explained him that we are not the body, like we are the soul, and even if we die again, we'll take a birth. So it is not that we'll not be there in future, something like that. So Arjuna, basically Krishna is satisfying him so that he takes up the war. He's forcing like that.
So
Mataji.
when Krishna started to tell him that you are talking foolishly, did Arjun immediately accept Krishna as guru?
No, Mataji, still some arguments are going on. Yeah, Mataji.
The last argument of indecision comes in second chapter. Initially, we can see here, right? 1, 2, 3, Lord Krishna chastises Arjuna and disapproves his so-called compassion. But after that, it again Arjun mentions his further doubts and confusions, and then he later surrenders. So it's not immediately he has understood Krishna's point. Initially, he's still trying to defend his point, but then because of confusion, he then surrenders to Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, yes. You can continue on the 11 to 15.
Yeah. So Mataji, then this question I had, Mataji, like if like Arjun is asking all this information on behalf of like us only, so where like we are feeling since we are going through all this Bhagavad Gita and all, so still like end of the day Arjuna takes up everything from Krishna and all, and he fights and do his duties, but as a human we are facing a lot of these questions, all the time. So how we will, conquer all these information? So that if you can clear, Mataji.
Yes.
So
So,
yeah,
so basically your question is, I'll just reiterate for my understanding. You are saying
yeah.
that Arjun is basically acting on our behalf to get all this knowledge from Krishna of Bhagavad Gita.
Sure, sure,
So,
Mataji.
and we are also facing a lot of issues in our daily life, right? So how are we going to get this information and understand it? And so that we are able to apply it personally, right?
Because end of the day, Arjuna, he wins basically whatever Krishna told, he wins and he takes up everything. So like that, Mataji. Then
Yes. So
Krishna, I'll continue that other part also. So Krishna told him that basically Krishna satisfying him as a season, summer comes, winter goes, summer comes. So it will keep on going. So you do not lament for such kind of things, and you have to fight. And you are a soul, not a body. So Krishna is giving the same he has explained in the Prabhupada, like as we change our garments, we throw away the old one and take up the new, and soul soul is basically soul is never we can becomes weak or something. We cannot dip in water or we cannot cut or all those
yes,
things.
those
So it
those
explains.
verses we will cover today, yeah, from 16 to 22. Those things will come today. Initially from 11 to 15, yeah, you mentioned
Sure.
correctly, like Krishna is trying to give the answer of the first argument of Arjun, which is compassion. So Arjun gave basically 5 reasons of not fighting. The first reason was compassion. He was feeling compassionate towards his family members, and that is why he was not able to fight. That is why his those compassion related arguments are being covered from 11 to 30, which is on the knowledge of body and soul. Yes. And regarding your question, Prabhuji,
Yeah.
basically how we are able to, Arjun got conviction after hearing full Bhagavad Gita. So that same thing applies to us. We have just started understanding Bhagavad Gita, right? So once we move ahead in the later chapters, when Krishna gives more and more details, second chapter, the name of second chapter is Contents of Gita Summarized. So whatever Krishna is going to explain in detail in the coming chapters, all of it concept-wise in the seed form is explained in second chapter. You are seeing here Gyan Yog, Sakam Karma, Nishkam Karma, then the qualities of liberated soul. All of these details Krishna has given in second chapter. There are a lot of concepts in second chapter. And second chapter, that is why seems to be very much philosophical, a lot of philosophical. When you move ahead in third, fourth, fifth chapter, especially the middle 6 chapters, is the crux of Bhagavad Gita. So by moving ahead, like Arjun developed conviction and he developed firm faith, and at the end, what is he saying? That I will do what you say, Krishna. Right? So that conviction we will also get when we understand the scriptures the way Arjun understood, and we are also understanding it from our Guru Parampara. So in that way, once we understand it in the right consciousness, then we also get that conviction. So it is not like it is an immediate effect that because we have started understanding Bhagavad Gita, immediately we would be able to apply these principles practically in our life. It will take time. And that is why almost in every class, I keep on saying this, repeating this, that daily Shravanam is very important. If we are just hearing once in a week, then it will not purify us so much. But if we are hearing every day, and hearing every day, the best way is to hear Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam every day happens in all the ISKCON temples. And if you're not able to go to temple every day, then we can hear it online also. Once in the whole day, we can take out time wherever possible. So in that way, if we are hearing Bhagavatam every day, then by default, whatever we are hearing and understanding in Bhagavad Gita, the details of it is being covered. Just a minute. Sorry, the details of it is covered in Bhagavatam also. So Bhagavad Gita is, you can consider that it is your normal, let's say till 10th or till 12th study. Then Srimad Bhagavatam is your graduation, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is your post-graduation, right? So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the details of how these devotees act in their life, who are already understood on the platform of Bhagavad Gita, how do they act in their life. So when we are hearing Bhagavatam, it makes us practically aware of how a devotee should be and how I should be. So there are many important concepts which are in Bhagavatam, which purifies us. Bhagavatam is the highest transcendental literature. So that is important. And the other thing is that once, because you have already started understanding Bhagavad Gita systematically, once we move ahead, you would be able to understand it even more. So yeah, that is your particular answer as of now, Prabhuji. Once we move
Yes,
ahead, you would be able to.
actually what happens, like we are going through Bhagavatam also, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita and all. So since long time, so it is not just like it is good that we started with you also. Important, like we keep on studying and all, but because of impurity or whatever, like so.
Then chanting also is
Yeah.
important, Prabhuji, because of course I am always talking about hearing, but chanting is
Chanting
also
also, Mataji.
the
We are
most
doing
important thing. Yeah.
chanting
Right.
group, Mataji.
Yes,
Right.
Prabhuji. So yes, by association, it will take time, because we have been into impurities since millions of births. So the impurities of millions of birth is so high that it takes time. In fact, I would say it would be basically low for you, because you are getting that consciousness of how am I going to get purified earlier, because I want to go back to Krishna. So that is the intensity, that is the urgency that we need. So if already we are getting that, which means that you're already on the right track. In fact, you can please pray for me, Prabhuji. Because that urgency is very important. My Guru Maharaj says that we must understand that every moment is important, and every moment we should feel the urgency to go back to God. It's not just during the class, or because I'm giving the class, I can say many things. But when it comes to individually, what I am doing when I'm alone, whether I'm doing time pass in my phone, or whether I'm gossiping with my friend, or whether I'm chanting, or whether I'm doing kirtan for the Lord, what am I doing when I'm alone? That defines how deeply I have gone in bhakti. So that is a very good measure of checking how much are we into bhakti actually in reality when we are alone. Because when we are with others, we are able to satisfy our false ego anyhow. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Okay, so just one quickly, in the last class in 2.11, we saw that Krishna was telling Arjuna that you should not lament unnecessarily. And basically why he should not lament unnecessarily is because in 2.12, Krishna says, because all individuals are existing eternally. So basically, it's not like that they are going to die when you kill their body. And how are they existing eternally in 2.13? Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. So change of body is natural. So basically, this particular cycle of growing old and then dying, this and then getting a new body, this particular process is natural. So basically, in fact, you should rejoice, because people like Bhishma and Drona, they will get a better body. They are so in such an old body that they are suffering. So basically, they'll get a new body where they can enjoy. Instead of lamenting, you must rejoice. But Arjun, because of his attachment in 14 to 15, he's giving arguments like, how can I enjoy? I am attached to their body. even though I understand that they are not this body, they are soul, but still I am attached to their body. So if we understand this particular concept in terms of let's say a normal person, let's say for example, if you're telling a person that right now you are in pain, but after some time you will get happiness because the medicines are going on, so you should be happy. But he'll say, no, but I'm getting so much of pain, how can I be happy? How do I believe that I will be happy later? All those type of arguments if that person gives. So what will you say? Are you foolish? It's not going to last long, right? Similarly, any change, if someone says that I really like winters. So it should happen that winter should stay always and there should be no summer or no autumn something. So someone would say, no, that's not possible. It's a natural cycle. It will change. Similarly, the body is going to get like, you have to leave this body and you have to get a new body, right? That is natural. You cannot stop that. So even if you're too much attached to that body, but it will not happen, right? Even if you not kill that person is going to die anyhow. So that this particular argument of Arjuna, Krishna says that you have to tolerate. You have to tolerate the dualities of, in 2.14 he mentions, and why we should tolerate the duality, which is very important. It is 2.15, where Krishna says that it makes you eligible for liberation. It's not like we just have to tolerate with no other goal, but the whole goal is very important. That is the goal of human form of life. If I am not tolerating, if I am not understanding why this particular situation is coming in my life and what is the hand of God in this situation, then I am not basically eligible for liberation. So my human form of life is defeated. I am coming in this body just to come and just to go. But what about going back to Godhead? That will not happen. So this 2.15 was important. So from today, we will start with 2.16. Let me know if this is visible. Yes. If someone of you would want to read the verse.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, may I?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Mataji. 16th shloka.
Yes,
Hare
I'm
Krishna.
sharing that. Mataji.
May I?
Yes, yes, Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, in WhatsApp you told 11 to 30, na? 11 to 30. What was
11
that?
to 15 we have covered, Prabhuji, last time.
I was just going
Tolerate
to...
dualities and eligible for liberation is
Mataji, in WhatsApp
2.15.
you sent, na? You told 11 to 30 from chapter 2. So I just...
Oh, is it? Probably my
Just
mistake,
verified,
Prabhuji.
sure.
11 to 15 we have covered last
Okay.
time. We
I-
also read the 14th and 15th, and
Sure,
I
sure.
can show you.
Sure.
So
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
if you see this, we read this, that a person is not disturbed by happiness and distress. And like in 2.14, we covered that. This matra sparshastu kaunteya, this
Yes, Mataji,
kaunteya
but
and
today's
Bharata is
WhatsApp now for revision, you mentioned 11 to 30. That's why I was just...
Acha, okay. Okay, today. Probably I was very in too much hurry today. That is why I might have mentioned.
No problem.
Sorry. Yes, Mataji. Uma Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Nasato vidyate bhavaha.
Nasato vidyate baho.
Na bhavo vidyate sataha.
Na
bhavo
bhavo vidyate
vidyate
sataha.
Ubhayorapi drishtontaha.
Ubhayorapi
Ubhayorapi
drishtontaha.
Tvanayostastvadarshibihi.
Tvanayostattvadarshibihi.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. The translation, Srila Prabhupada translates, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. What is non-existent here? The body, right? The material body. And the existent, there is no cessation, which is the soul. This seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. Okay, so here Krishna is trying to make Arjun understand that what is the perspective based on the acharyas or the seers of truth. Okay, so what are they saying is that who is an intelligent person? A person is can be termed as intelligent is one who has the knowledge of matter and spirit, and who knows that the controller of both is Lord, right? So one who is not having any difference, any knowledge of the difference between matter and spirit, he will not be termed as intelligent. And that is why they have concluded that the material body is going to perish for sure, right? It is going to die. And the soul, it is non-material. Okay, soul is spirit, which is going to stay forever. It is not going to die. It is eternal. So that is why this is the basic difference between matter and spirit, which makes us start from the spiritual knowledge. Okay, this we covered in the last class, that this is the basis of spiritual knowledge. And the material knowledge doesn't even talk about spirit. It just talks about matter. So this is the very big difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge, that material knowledge ends in matter only, but spiritual knowledge starts from the knowledge between matter and spirit. So that is the reason most of all materialists will never be able to understand God, because they are not considering another aspect of it which is important, which is called spirit. And that is the reason why Bhagavad Gita starts from this, because Bhagavad Gita is the book of spiritual knowledge. So that is why the spiritual knowledge starts from spirit, and the second chapter starts from the knowledge of the soul. Okay, so now what happens is that the material body has two parts. One is the gross body and one is the subtle body. So I have covered this in last class as well. Would anyone like to tell what consists of the gross body? What is the gross body? So gross body is
What is soul,
basically
Mataji?
Pancha Mahabhut.
Are outer.
Body,
this body is being made, the gross body, right? So
Air,
this
fire.
is basically the consisting parts of material body. Yes, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Thank you, Mataji.
Mhm.
So this is called gross body, and the subtle body is made up of
Soul,
Mind, ego,
Mind, intelligence,
intelligence,
mind, intelligence, and
and
false
false ego.
Exactly.
Yeah.
false ego.
Yes. So mind, intelligence, and false ego, this is a subtle body. What do we mean by gross body and subtle body? In one sense, both of them are bodies, which means both of them are temporary. They are not eternal. And soul is eternal. The soul is different. There are three things. We are not talking about the soul. We are just talking about the material and gross and subtle bodies, which are part of material body. So the gross body is getting destroyed when we leave this body. So either like we are killed, or either like we die naturally, whatever is the case, but then this gross body dies. The subtle body, which consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego, it stays with us unless and until we get liberated. We go back to Godhead. So that is why. So now the changes which are happening in the material body, in the gross body, are visible. Like for example, we were born, we were an infant, then we got a little, we grow, and we were youth. Then we again grew, we produced offsprings. Then we again grew older, we got diseases, and then finally we dwindle and we die, right? So this is the gross body changes which are very much visible. And the subtle body is basically this is basically you will not be able to see the changes as such, but you can see the changes in terms of the emotions that you are feeling. Emotional level change would be easily visible through subtle body. So like for example, whatever we are doing as activities when we are in this body, those activities are creating impressions on our subtle body. Those impressions are basically called as samskaras. As we have covered some classes before, the 16 samskaras. What are those 16 samskaras? They are basically impressions to purify our subtle body. And why it is important? Because the Vedic scriptures knows that this is not the only life you are in, right? It's not like that this is the only life and I'm going to die and then everything is going to complete, right? It's not like that. There will be next bodies. What would be the deciding factor of the next body? What is the consciousness of my activities in this life? And then what is the desire of mine, right? And based on my activities, there would be reactions. So based on that, I will get the next body. So basically, what happens is, if you are doing devotional activities all your life, you are, and this impressions are not so easy to create. Whatever you read, whatever you hear, whatever you talk, right? Whatever knowledge you are gaining, everything that you are doing is creating an impression on your subtle body. And if we think, let's say, it happens many times that because of our conditioning through millions of lifetimes, we go back to our old habits. Let's say someone has a habit of gossiping, let's say. Even when they come to devotional life, they get that urge of talking about someone, even when they are into devotional life, right? But this will go away. We have to keep this in mind. If we try to feed that bad dog again and again, then that bad dog will create reactions, right, in our life. Maharaj says there is a good dog and a bad dog. Whoever you feed, that particular dog will become stronger and the other will starve. So whenever we are feeding the bad dog, the bad qualities in us, we are making him stronger and we are starving the good dog. But when we come to devotional life, we have to consciously make the endeavor to feed the good dog, feed the good qualities, and how much ever you feel the urge to go back to your bad habits, the previous habits, you would still have to specifically endeavor to starve the bad dog. Then only you would be able to move ahead in spiritual life by enriching your good dog, right? So this is what we are discussing, that why it is important, because when we are not consciously doing it, then there are only two things we will do. Either we would be feeding the bad dog or we would be feeding the good dog. It's not like, Mataji, I will not feed anyone. It's not like that. So then what happens is, basically, then we are creating these impressions in our mind, intelligence, and false ego. And these impressions will carry with me in my next body also. So if I have, let's say, done 20% of my bhakti in this particular lifetime, we would definitely try ideally to complete it. But in case, let's say, even if we are not able to go back to Godhead in the next life, because of these impressions, there would be natural inclinations in my next body, whatever next body we get, there will be natural inclinations towards association of devotees, towards chanting of the mantras, towards following the rules and regulations of the scriptures. This would be natural. And this we also can see in different people, right? There are so many children who are from very young age, they are by default attracted to scriptures, reading scriptures. There are so many children who even um, they know the whole of Bhagavad Gita even when they're just 5 years old, right? And there are many such instances. This is why, because they have done those pious activities in their previous life. So this particular 2.16 year, Krishna is trying to make Arjun understand that this is the way the seers of truth see the entire world, right? They know that the non-existent, which is the body, there is no endurance. It will not last, right? It is going to die anyhow. It's temporary. And the existent, there is no cessation. The soul is not going to be killed. The soul is not going to going to get old or diseased or anything. There is no cessation for the soul. And this is the conclusion of the uh, what we can say, the seers of truth. Okay. So moving ahead, 2.17. Avinashi tu tad vidhi,
अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि
yena sarvamidam tatam,
येन
येन
सर्वमिदं
सर्वमिदं
ततं
vinasham avyayasyasya,
विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य
विनाशमव्ययस्य
na kaschit kartumarhati.
न
न
कश्चित्
कश्चित्
कर्तुमर्हति
कर्तुमर्हति।
Okay. So the translation, anyone would like to read?
Hare Krishna Mother.
Yes, Prabhu.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That which prevents the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so here what Krishna is saying, in the previous words, he told that as per the seers of truth, the soul is eternal and the body is temporary. Now, what is he saying? That which pervades the entire body is indestructible. So, first we will understand what Shveteshwar Upanishad says for the soul, right? So, the Shveteshwar Upanishad mentions that when you take the upper point of a hair and you divide it in 100 parts, and again, each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, which means basically, if you take the tip of your hair and you divide it into 10,000 parts. Okay. So when you divide your tip of the hair in 10,000 parts, that one part is basically the measurement and the dimension of the spirit soul. This particular spirit soul is also referred to as spirit atom, spiritual atom, and the spiritual atom is very smaller than the material atom that we have studied in our science books. So it is immeasurable. We cannot measure it. Even if you think that if you take the point of your hair and you divide it into 10,000 parts, that one part is basically the spiritual atom, right? So that is why it is immeasurable. But what is being mentioned about it is that it spreads over the whole body. So how does it spread is based on the consciousness. So consciousness is the symptom of the soul. How would you know that this particular person is alive or dead? By consciousness, right? If you touch that person and that person wakes up. So why is he waking up? Because there is soul inside. Because of that small soul that is within the heart of the body, and that is mentioned in Mundak Upanishad. So Prabhupada gives that also, that in the Mundak Upanishad it is mentioned here that the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. It is floating in the 5 kinds of air, is situated within the heart, and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. So basically, this particular soul, which we saw that it is very, very small, not even a point actually, that particular soul is residing in our heart, and that makes our heart the most important place in our body. And this what even material people know, and they mention that heart is the life force is basically from the heart, although they do not acknowledge the soul. But spiritual texts are also mentioning the same thing, that the main point, the main thing that is actually making the body move, that soul is staying in the heart, and it is covered by 5 kinds of air. Also, the Hatha Yoga system, basically what it does, it tries to purify this 5 kinds of air so that you get into Paramatma realization. Okay. So, but also as per many scriptures, in Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to follow the Hatha Yoga in perfect way. Okay. So that if through that way you are trying to get liberation, it is almost impossible. Right? For the previous ages, for Satya Yuga, Trita Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, people used to live long, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 years, right? We hear that Hiranyaksha did tapasya for 36,000 years. So that is a very long time. Tapasya for 36,000 years. So he's not like he just got, he was born and he started doing tapasya. His life would have been even more, right? Before tapasya, after tapasya. So how long that life was. So they used to follow all these Hatha Yoga and all these processes, but for us, the lifespan is very short and the environment is not favorable to do any type of liberation activities apart from chanting of the holy names. So only chanting of the holy names is the recommended dharma for Kali Yuga. So yes, so what we were discussing is that this is the size of the soul is being mentioned, and that this small atomic soul pervades the whole body through consciousness. And hence, this particular soul is so like what we can say, this soul is basically the part of the Lord. Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So Krishna is saying that this soul is basically my part and parcel. And that is why it has such great power, that such a small soul is also able to like it has the power to take control of the whole body. And that is why whenever we are being like anywhere a thorn gets pricked in your feet, you will get to know immediately. If a mosquito bites you, you will know immediately. Why this is happening? Because your soul is there, and the soul is causing consciousness of your body. Now, you as a soul, you just have the consciousness of your own body. Do you have the consciousness of others' body? Do you know if your son, if a mosquito is biting your son, will you come to know immediately like he
No,
would know?
Mataji. No, Mataji.
No. So why that is not happening? Because you as a soul, you are Vibhu, right? We are Anu and Krishna is Vibhu. So Krishna as Paramatma is staying in the body of each of the living entities. So that is why Krishna has the knowledge and the consciousness of every living entity. But we, because we are Anu, we are very, very small, insignificant in terms of Krishna, we just have the consciousness of our own body. In chapter 13, this would be discussed in more detail of Kshetra Kshetragya. So the how we are only aware of our body, but the super soul is aware of all the bodies. Okay. So thus basically what is there, that based on the soul, the body is being maintained. If there is no soul, there is no maintenance of the body. So this is also important, that the whole body is being maintained only because of the soul, the presence of the soul. And thus when the soul leaves the body, there is nothing left, right? There is no maintenance and the body starts to diminish. Okay, so moving to the next verse.
May I, Mataji?
Sure, ma'am.
Antavanta ime dehaha
Tamanta ime deha
nityasukta sharirinaha
nitya
Nityasukta
शरीरिणः
anashino aprameyasya
anasino
मनसिनो
premeyasya
tasyadbhutyasya तस्माद्युस्यस्व भारत
tasmat
Tasmat
yudyasva
Yudyasva
तस्माद्युध्यस्व
bharata.
Bharata.
भारत
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, you can also read the translation, Mataji.
Only the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is subject to destruction. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Hare Krishna
Yes.
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So basically, again, that the material body, only the material body is indestructible, immeasurable. Sorry, only the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and its eternal living entity subject to destruction. Right? Only our body is the subject of destruction, not our soul. Our soul is indestructible and immeasurable, and it is eternal living. Right? So this is why Krishna is saying that anyhow, this body is going to die. What will happen if Arjun doesn't fight? Arjun doesn't kill? Are they going to live forever? Are the Kauravas not going to die at any point of time in their life? No, right? There are two people. If they do not interact at all and everyone stays in their own home with full facility, with full safety, is there a guarantee that they will not going to die? No, right? They are going to die because that is the way. The material body is subject to death. When we take birth, then only our death is decided. So that is the reason why you should fight. You should not be attached to their body, because the body is anyhow destructible. And so first Arjun is basically like, Arjun is he's still into that compassion mode, right? But based on this knowledge of the soul, Krishna is telling him to fight based on the religious righteous principles. Someone might question, let's say someone questions here that, okay, you are saying that the material body is destructible and the soul is indestructible and immeasurable. You cannot kill the soul. So why not we kill the animals? Why didn't you say that you should not kill the animals, right? Someone might question this. So that is the main point, that on the righteous principles, we have to fight, we have to kill. It's not like Krishna is telling Arjun to kill anyone. This whole war, this is a war of based on dharma, right? To establish dharma. So, therefore, I guess someone is not here. Yeah. So therefore, it is very important to understand this important principle that the Vedic scriptures never allow anyone to kill just because the body is anyhow going to die. So you kill and eat that body. That is not recommended, right? So you have to understand this basic principle, that when we are saying that, okay, the soul is indestructible and the body is destructible, and even if you kill this body, even if you not kill this body, it is anyhow going to die. That does not mean that you should kill anyone. There has to be, and in the last class we discussed on the concept of punishment, right? So the punishment of death, whom who should get this punishment, who should not get, what is the difference between the role of Kshatriya, what is the difference between the role of Brahman, and all those things they come into picture. So no one can kill anyone just like that, okay? So that is an important concept here. Okay, moving on to the next verse. I guess these verses are quite easy to understand because it gives the knowledge of how this body is temporary and the soul is permanent, right? So if anyone gets any doubt here, you can let me know. Okay. Yes, you can see here, Prabhupada also is giving that details of the observance of religious principles should be utilized. Okay. Okay, then 2.19. Yes, Uma Mataji, would you like to?
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Ya enam veti hantaram,
Ya enam
य
veti
एनं वेत्ति
hantaram,
हन्तारम्
yachainam manyate hatam,
यस्यैनं
यश्चैनं मन्यते हतम्
ubhau tau na vijanitaha,
ubhau tau
Ubhauto
na
na
vijanito,
जानिता
nayam hanti na hanyate.
nayam
नायं
hanti na
हन्ति न
hanyate.
हन्यते.
Thank you,
Translation,
Mataji.
may I,
Yes,
Mataji?
yes, sure.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He who thinks that the living entity is the slayer or that he is slain does not understand. One who is in knowledge knows that the self slays not, nor is slain. Hare Krishna Mataji.
So here Prabhupada in a very poetic way gives this translation that basically a living entity, like as in the soul, he is not the slayer, nor he is slain. Basically, the soul is not the person who is killing, right? And nor the soul can be killed itself. And one who is in knowledge knows this concept that the self slays not nor is slain. Like he's not slaying anyone. The soul is not killing any other person, nor is the soul killed himself. Right? So this is being discussed in the purport as well. When an embodied living entity is hurt by fatal weapons, it is to be known that a living entity within the body is not killed. Right? Even when we are hurt, let's say I am hurt by fatal weapon, well, my body would be hurt, but the living entity, the soul, is as it is. It is not changed at all. The spirit soul is so small that it is impossible to kill him by any material weapon, as is evident from the previous verses, right? So we saw in the previous verse, it was mentioned, it is indestructible. So this is the same thing. The spirit soul, it is so small. If you cannot even see that soul, how can you kill it, right? So this is what Prabhupada is trying to mention here. Nor is the living entity killable because of his spiritual constitution. What is a spiritual constitution? We are part of the Supreme Lord. So the Supreme Lord cannot be killed, right? He is eternal. The same principles apply to the Supreme Lord as well, right? He is the same. But because we are, as I mentioned, Anu means very, very, very insignificant and small, and Krishna is a supreme. So that is why we have the same quality, but in quantity, we are not same as Krishna. So we have the qualities of our soul is having the quality of being eternal, being indestructible, and all because Krishna has those qualities. What is killed or is supposed to be killed is the body only, right? This, however, does not at all encourage killing of the body. The Vedic injunction is Mahimyasat Sarva Bhutani, never commit violence to anyone. Nor does understanding that the living entity is not killed encourage animal slaughter. So this we already discussed, that how this is not encouraging animal slaughter. This is very important. If someone remembers, his case Amoghila Prabhu, I guess he directed one drama very long back. Not Amoghila Prabhuji, some other Prabhuji. It was something like Munna Bhai came to Bhakti, something like that. I do not remember. It was many years back I saw. So there, what happened is, because Munna Bhai is someone that of that gunda sort of, right? He is into this business of killing people. So when he reads second chapter, he's like, "Oh, what I'm doing is not wrong. I am killing the body, but that soul is not getting killed, right?" So this is a very important principle which Prabhupada is explaining here. That anywhere this is not being encouraged. Many people take it wrongly and they think that the scriptures only are allowing meat eating and they themselves are allowing murder, but it is not being allowed. The understanding is that the living entity is not killed. It is not encouraging. In fact, killing of any person without any righteous principle behind it, then it is abominable. It is violence, right? And yes, killing of the body of anyone without authority is abominable and punishable by the law. And as we discussed in the last class, why punishing is important. Let's say Arjun will not kill these people in the battlefield. What will happen? Are they not going to suffer because of the sinful reactions, sinful deeds before? No, right? They are anyhow going to suffer. In fact, when they are being killed in this battlefield because of this punishment, their later suffering in the hell is removed, because whatever suffering they were going to get is being given because of the death the death that is happening on the battlefield. And because they valiantly fought the battle, in fact, instead of going to hell, they get the heaven because they did their duty, right? So a Kshatriya, if he does not leave the battlefield and he fights, and if he, let's say, dies in the battlefield, then that Kshatriya attains heaven, right? So, and especially that battle has to be on righteous principles. It should not be like any battle, like what is happening today, right? The terrorists and all, they are just killing anyone and everyone on the name of religion, but that is not religion actually. So that should not be the case, that you are just fighting on the name of religion, but that is not religion in itself, right? So that is not the case. Only in a dharma yuddha, if you are fighting like a Kshatriya, not leaving the battlefield, then you attain heaven. So, and your punishment is reduced. Whatever punishment you are going to get is reduced because of that. So that is important. If Arjun doesn't do that, then these people will keep on doing more and more sinful reactions, sinful activities, and then they will have a big amount of the mountain of sinful deeds which they are going to suffer in hell. Okay. So yes, I guess this is understood. Then 2.20.
May I, Mataji?
Sure, Mataji.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित्
न
न
जायते
जायते
म्रियते वा
म्रियते वा
कदाचित्
कदाचिन्
नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः
नायं
नायं
भूत्वा
भूत्वा
भविता
भविता
वा
वा न भूयः
अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः
अजो
अजो
नित्य
नित्य
शाश्वतोऽयं
शाश्वतोऽयं
पुराणो
पुराणो
न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे
न
न
हन्यते
हन्यते
हन्यमाने
हन्यमाने
शरीरे.
शरीरे.
Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor having once been, does he ever ceases to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
So if you just consider this first part of the translation, if you do not consider the last line as of now, just first we will try to understand what is mentioned. For the soul, there is never birth nor death. Okay. And compare these qualities with Krishna. Krishna doesn't take birth nor he takes death. So what is there in the pastime, that is basically just a pastime. He's not, his body and his soul is not different. Like we are having a different body and a different soul, right? We have to change bodies. Krishna has the same body for millions and millions of years. And that we will cover in the coming chapters when he says that he's not forgetful. He remembers the past, everything. And do we remember what we ate 2 days back? No, right? So we are into that forgetfulness. So although, so yes, the soul never takes birth, nor is the soul, there is never birth and nor death. Same for Krishna. Nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. Okay. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. All these characteristics of soul that are being discussed, they are exactly same as Krishna. Krishna is unborn, he is eternal, he is ever existing, he is undying, and he is primeval. The same is applied to the soul as well. But what is the difference is that we are very small in quantity, we are subjected to forgetfulness, we are subjected to material suffering and everything because of our own desire to stay happy independent of Krishna, right? Not in connection with Krishna. That is why we are caught up in this material world. But Krishna doesn't get caught up in the material energy because he's a supreme. He's Vibhu, so he is like everything is emanating from him. So he is the controller of everything, and therefore he doesn't get entangled in the material nature. Okay. Now, when we say he is not slain when the body is slain, this doesn't apply to Krishna because his body and his soul is not different. It is the same thing. It is applied to us only because we are having this body and the body can be slain, the body can die, but we will not die because we are soul. So, understood this particular verse? How our soul has the qualities of Krishna, but because of our forgetfulness, because of our insignificant nature, we are trapped up in this body, which is in control of the material nature. Okay. Same thing Prabhupada mentions here. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. Right? He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called steady or kutastha, but the body is subject to 6 kinds of transformation. So these type of transformations happen only to the body, right? Birth, growing old, and producing byproducts, all those things. And then, yes, you can see this. There are 2 kinds of soul, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the Vibhu Atma, which is super soul. A super soul lives in the heart of our body, but super soul is basically Paramatma, right? Krishna himself. And as we discussed in the previous verses, that Krishna is aware of all the bodies because he stays there as super soul, and we are not aware of all the bodies because we just have this body where our soul is there and it pervades as consciousness, and because of that consciousness we are aware only about the activities of this body. Okay, this particular analogy is very important, that the soul and super soul are basically situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living entity. It's not like super soul is very far away from him. If we just think, if we just contemplate, actually, Krishna consciousness is all about contemplation. If I just understand that this particular soul, the super soul is staying with me, it is directly staying with me in that same heart. What is the size of heart? I guess someone says that our fist, whatever is the size of our fist, that much is the size of our heart, or even smaller than that. I do not remember. I'm not a medical person. But in fact, if you can consider, Krishna is just so close to us. If let's say here is my soul and here is super soul, then how close Krishna is to me? That the closest to us is Krishna. All the other people, they are much farther than Krishna, right? Whenever we think that I am alone, how can we even think that I am alone or I am feeling loneliness when Krishna is with you? So this is also important. So here, yes. So in this analogy, this is not an analogy, this is the truth actually, that the super soul and the atomic soul, Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjun is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. So, the story of soul and super soul that I was mentioning, the analogy of 2 birds. So, one bird is, there are 2 birds on the same tree. The soul bird is basically just engaged in eating the fruits of that tree, and the super soul is just watching. The only point of time when that particular soul who is just enjoying the fruits of the tree understands that I am actually getting suffering by enjoying these fruits, this is not my real position, I should go back to the other bird who is my real friend, then everything becomes nice for that soul. So this analogy is for us. When we understand all the happiness that I am seeking, that happiness lies when I understand my relationship with Krishna, then everything becomes perfect. But till the time I am engaged in this conception of I, me, and mine, and that why I am important and why I should go for this enjoyment and that enjoyment, and till the time I am not at all interested in serving Krishna, there will be suffering. Each and every sense gratification activity that we are involved in will for sure give us suffering. So till the point I do not understand this, I will keep on going in this cycle of enjoyment, suffering, enjoyment, suffering, enjoyment, suffering. But the point when I understand this, and when I turn towards the super soul, and when I understand this, he's my right, he's my true friend. And then when I do not go back to sense gratification, I would be into the liberated state. So this is the analogy of the soul and super soul. Okay. Let's move ahead to 221.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, you're reading?
Yes, Mataji. Veda Vinashinam Nityam
Veda
Vinashinam
Nityam
Ya Enamajamavyayam
Ya
Enam
Enam Ajamavyam
Katam Sapurusha Partha
Katham
Katham
Sapurusha
Sapurusha
Partha
Partha
Tam Ghatayati Hantikam.
Kam
Kam
Ghatayati Hantikam.
Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So here what Krishna is making Arjun understand is that everything has its own utility, and a knowledgeable person knows where to apply for the proper utility. Like for example, a doctor has a knife or a murderer has a knife, right? A thief. So a thief will use the same knife in the wrong way, but a doctor will use that same knife to cure a patient, right? Similarly, a person who would know that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable, how can that particular person kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Take it? Everything has its proper utility, and a man who is situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility, right? Violence also has utility, and how to apply violence rest with the hands in the with the person and knowledge, right? Someone might say that this non-violence principle, right? That someone might say that okay, we should not involve in violence and we should not kill someone. But what would you do when you are encountering people like terrorists, people who are doing crimes? Like just we are hearing so many different crimes happening here and there in Kolkata and Bangladesh, so many things. So what do you think, that non-violence is the answer to all those things? No, right? Based on the religious principles, to protect the dharma, you will have to go against the unrighteous people, right? That is important. But we also have to consider that that is the way of showing compassion on them. As we discussed on the law of punishment, if you are not killing a person who is involved in such sinful activities, you are actually you are actually violent on them. You are not non-violent on them, you are violent on them by not giving them punishment, because of this not getting punishment, they are going to get more suffering, even very very big suffering later on, right? We can go through Prabhupada's purport because it is very important. Although the justice of the peace awards capital punishment to a person condemned for murder, the justice of the peace cannot be blamed because he orders violence to another person according to course of justice. In Manu Samhita, the law book of mankind, it is supported that a murderer should be condemned to death, right? So important is this. It's not like if someone is doing a murder, he should be just given some you can stay in jail for 2 years or 3 years, right? He should be condemned to death, so that in the next life he will not have to suffer for the great sin he has committed. Getting it? How this law of punishment is working. Therefore, the king's punishment of hanging a murderer is actually beneficial. Similarly, when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice. And as such, Arjun should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all. Okay? So this particular concept of how violence can be real compassion, or how violence can be beneficial on the other soul, is it clear to everyone?
Yes,
If I can
Mataji.
get just now confirmation. Okay. Others I'm not hearing, so you still have doubts on this?
Oh, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay then. So to the last verse of our session today, because basically from 16 to 22 is this common theme of material body is temporary and soul is eternal. This particular theme is being carried out by Krishna. And this is a very famous verse. Most of you would already have heard it, and many of you would also be knowing this before only. So quickly we can cover this one.
May I
Yes,
read,
Mataji?
Mataji?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Vasan.
Just a minute, Prabhuji. Sorry. Shruti Mataji, you raised your hand. You have a question?
No, I was just for reading.
Okay, sorry. So Saurabh Prabhuji already started.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Vashami nirjani yatha vihaya.
Vasamshi jirnani yatha vihaya.
Namani grihanti naroparane.
Navani
Navani
granati
granati
naroparani.
naroparani.
Tatha sharirani vihaya jirana.
Tatha
Tatha
sharirani
sharirani
vihaya
vihaya
jirnani.
jirnani.
Anyani shamyati namani dehi.
Anyani
Anyani
samyati
samyati
navani
navani
dehi.
dehi.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So as we have seen that, just a minute. Yeah, I'm very sorry. There was something important. Yes. So, what is Krishna saying here? As a person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones. Similarly, the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Right. So, this particular material body where our soul is being entrapped, this particular body, we will have to change it. Right. It's very natural process. We cannot say that I'm going to stay in this body forever. So, when we were very small as an infant, we were in the same body, but our body has transformed, right? Are you in that same body of infant now? No, it has changed from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, right? And it will go from till old age till the body becomes useless. Were you lamenting when you left your infant body and got a youth body? No, right? Are you lamenting when you are getting this like when these changes are happening in your body? Are you lamenting for these changes? No, because this is natural. It is just like changing clothes. So we are not lamenting for changing clothes. Similarly, there is no point in lamenting when the soul is accepting new material bodies and giving up the old and useless ones. So this is very important. The other important point that I want to discuss here is these all what we can say, the way death is being dramatized in material world, right? If you see how it is being dramatized through movies, through just concepts of people in general, because of the lack of spiritual knowledge, that is being considered, oh, I'm going to die, I must I must go for this particular thing before I die. I should not have this regret at the end of my life that I did not complete this, I did not do that, I did not enjoy. These are my checklist things, right? All those things are so much popular now, that this is my to-do list. One checklist checked of my to-do list, right? People say all those things. Going to Paris, oh, checklist done. Going to whatever mountain climbing and all, checklist done. Going to marine what we say, diving and all, checklist done. So this way people have dramatized that this is the only life you're going to live in, and you must complete all your desires here, you must fulfill all your desires, and you must not think about that you must enjoy so much that you should not think at the time of that I did not do this or that, right? This is the way they dramatize death. When we hear scriptures, when we read scriptures, we see how we actually have to look towards death. Parikshit Maharaj got to know that I'm going to die in 7 days. What an intelligent person would do. He already knows that I am going to leave all my relatives, right? when the death comes, are you going to take your relatives along with you? Are you going to take your possessions along with you? No, right? You anyhow have to leave them. Why not develop detachment before leaving this body so that it becomes easy to leave this body, right? This is intelligence. This is real intelligence. And what if someone says that, Mataji, you are saying that this is intelligence, but what about our senses? Like, what about our sense gratification? What about our desires? They are not getting fulfilled, right? What will happen? So there's a very nice story of Akbar and Birbal, I guess, right? So then there was an argument between both of them when Akbar said that when a person gets old, by naturally he gets detachment. It's not like he has to develop detachment through spiritual life. By default, he gets detachment because he gets so much suffering in his old age body, and there are so many other sufferings he has seen in his life. So by default, he gets detachment. So Birbal mentioned that that is not true. So, but then to prove his point, what they did is he mentioned Birbal mentioned that there is an old person and he's on his deathbed, and we must go and see him. He has done some good work for our kingdom. But Birbal mentioned to Akbar that you please take your daughter along with you when you go there. We will go in the evening. So Akbar said, okay. He did not understand why he should take his daughter, but he said, okay, fine, I will take my daughter along with. So when they went there, Birbal specifically asked the daughter to go ahead. She was very young and beautiful, and he asked, like Akbar and Birbal, they were basically coming just behind her. So when they were reaching, that particular old man, he is already on his deathbed. He is almost about to die. And when he was seeing so beautiful daughter in front of, like so beautiful girl in front of him, his eyes were big, and he was like, based on his facial expressions, it was very clear that he was feeling, having different feelings towards that girl, right? This is happening in front of her father. So now, when Akbar saw, he was getting very enraged, but Birbal controlled him, and then they just met that person and they went back. So now Birbal told Akbar that, did you see that old man, how he was looking towards your daughter? So Akbar was already enraged. So he said yes, and he must not do this, right? So then he said, now do you agree that if you do not develop detachment through spiritual life all your life, you will not be able to develop detachment even at the time of death. Those sense gratification activities that you have performed all your life, this is going to be this is going to engage you even more in this material lust, material greed, anger, envy. All these qualities, they are not going to diminish by themselves. We have to practice spiritual life to get detachment. So this particular verse we understand, Vasam se Jirnani, that it is very natural. We must not limit for changing our bodies, but it is also very important to understand through this particular verse that how many lifetimes we have been going through these changes. If this change is so natural, it is very evident that we have been going through these changes life after life after life. Then why are we not getting serious in leaving this body forever and going back to spiritual world? This is the main important purport here. This is the main important point that we have to consider. Bhagavad Gita, as I have mentioned earlier, it's not just for philosophical study. It's not just for reading and understanding. It's for understanding why this knowledge is important for me. Why this knowledge makes me detached. How this knowledge will make me understand that I do not belong to this place. So if you're a guest in a particular place, will you stay forever in that place? No. We are a guest here. Our real home is Goloka. Our real home is Vaikuntha. So what are we doing here? We must go back to our home, right? So as a guest, we must know that this place is temporary. I must leave this place. I should not be working on making this place comfortable for me. This is the main thing of this particular point. And this whole section of 16 to 22, Krishna was he was making Arjun understand that how by killing, you are not killing the soul. You are killing the body itself, and the body is temporary, and the soul is permanent. Okay. So, any questions, comments, suggestions?
Hare
Anyone?
Krishna. Mataji, I have a question.
Yes,
Like
House.
we get the next body on the whatever the consciousness we have. So we get, so what about the deeds we do in this life, like bad work, karma and all? So we are
Yes, so Prabhuji, by default, everyone has to, like by default, everyone goes through punishment and all those cycles, right? Only by spiritual activities can we get out of this body. So let's say if I do good deeds, let's say if I'm just I'm making this example I've given before, right? If I'm giving if I'm making people eat, right? There are so many people who give donations just so that you can feed hundreds and thousands of people, but that food is not prasadam, right? So then that activity binds you that in the next life you will also get food without much endeavor, right? You will get food properly. Similarly, there are so many things. If you are doing this yagya, you will get so and so different type of reactions, right? Good reactions, bad reactions, and all those things. So whatever good we are doing, there will be reactions. We will have to take birth to get those reactions. Whatever bad we are doing, for that we will have to take birth. We will have to get the reactions. This is karma and vikarma. Karma is good activities and vikarma is bad activities. But there is something called akarma. Akarma is basically spiritual activities, transcendental activities. This particular portion will come in the next chapters in detail, where Krishna will just give this understanding of how doing this buddhi yoga, of nishkam karma yoga, if you're not getting attached to your results, and if you're doing this particular activity just for the pleasure of the Supreme, as a sacrifice for the Supreme, then that activity becomes transcendental. It is not in the level of goodness, passion, or ignorance, it is transcendental. So then we would be able to leave this body and we would be able to go back to God.
So Mataji, my question, like, if we have a consciousness of, something like, if somebody likes the swimming, so next life, I heard that we go, we give we are
Okay.
given a body of fish and all. So
Yes.
consciousness and our karma, how means, or how these factors are decided for the next body? Yeah.
Yes. So the activities, like I mentioned, right? The activities that we are doing, they are creating impressions on our subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego. That is creating our consciousness for the next body. Let's say I like swimming and I am always in that mood of to stay in water. But as a human being, can you stay in water 24/7? No, right? But in this life, you have developed that desire to always stay in water. You just want to have all your activities in water. So then that consciousness, because at the time of death, you will have that desire to stay in water forever, then Krishna will give you that body where you can fulfill your desire. Krishna, actually, if we see, Krishna is like a merciful father. He is giving us what we want, but he also wants us to purify our desire. Because if I purify my desire, then I will not roam about in different bodies, in different lifetimes, right? Because I have understood that only in human form I can go back to Godhead, then only I would be able to purify my desire, right? A fish cannot purify her desire. A dog cannot purify his desire. But we can do that. So by purifying our desire, by performing these activities, our consciousness gets clarity. Our consciousness is purified and our mind intelligence and false ego comes in the, like the false ego becomes the real ego. The real ego is the real identity that I am the servant of the Lord, right? So this real identity is being established, but this happens very gradually. We have to be very serious about it. And any person in general, if we see, like you mentioned, that if a person, let's say there are so many actresses, actors, they are wearing very scanty clothes, so they will get a body of a tree. Okay, you do not want to wear clothes, become a tree. The tree is not wearing clothes, it's standing naked, right? Similarly, if you are sleeping all your life, you get a body of a bear. Okay, sleep now. Because human body has a aim. Human body is only and only meant for self-realization. That's it. There is no other aim of our human form of life. Earning money, creating big house, creating big, having big cars and big reputation is not the aim of human form of life. If we are engaging in activities which are not part of human form of, which are not the goal of human form of life, then whatever consciousness I am creating, that particular consciousness will lead me to the body of that particular animal. Let's say animal or a person. Let's say if someone is very envious and very jealous of others' success, of others' prosperity, then generally that particular person gets a body of a snake. Because snake is always envious, right? Snake is always spitting poison. So this is the way how we are developing. If I am always talking gossip, if I'm always doing prajalpa all the time, then I will get a body of, I guess Prabhupada mentioned owl, one who spits like mull, um, stool from the mouth, right? If you're spitting stool from your mouth when you have got a human form of life, then Krishna will give you a body where you are actually spitting stool from your mouth. You're getting the point? This is how Krishna arranges the material nature, and how this is material nature gives us different bodies.
So first we will be punished, Mataji, then we will be getting the body.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
First punishment will be there, na? Because whatever bad
First
deeds.
punishment. Yes, first there would be, we will go to hell, we will get the reactions for our whatever deeds, bad deeds we have done. Then based on, after the punishment is done, then we get a different body based on these things. The activities that we have done in the life and the desire that we had at the moment of death. Then we get a new body.
Thanks, Mataji. Mataji, one more query I had, like from today's verse, is like we, Paramatma, soul, and we are all together. So Paramatma, Paramatma, we have to look after the soul, human, like we have to
Sorry,
take.
Prabhuji, your voice broke.
Yeah, Mataji, we have to take care of the soul. Like what is the means? We have to
Hello.
feel like good work for the soul. We have to do Krishna consciousness activities to satisfy soul. And so what, like we have to look at the soul or Krishna. Like what is the purpose? Like means all three are there, na? Mataji, soul, Paramatma, and we. So what would be the
Soul
like?
and we are not different. Soul is basically referred to us only.
So soul and Paramatma, we can say.
Yes, soul and Paramatma, we are basically soul. The whole point is to make us understand that I am soul, I am not this body. So we as in soul. Yes.
So we are not diverting like towards Krishna is sitting, like Paramatma is there. So if we are avoiding, so like what would be the we are not we have to serve Krishna, or what, like how we'll know that what we have to do or something, because
Yes.
Krishna
So
is just.
for that we have to go to a bona fide spiritual master, that we will learn in chapter 4, where Krishna says that when you actually serve submissively a spiritual master and inquire from him, then you are able to understand this knowledge and you are able to practice it. So for that, it is very important to first of all get this knowledge from a bona fide sampradaya, and to get it from a person who is in the sampradaya. Okay, so then we would be able to understand this knowledge as it is, and yes, then we will develop a love towards Krishna.
Mataji, I have a doubt.
Yes,
You
Mataji.
said that when a person keeps on thinking that he wants to be in the water, he will be born as a fish, right? After that fish birth, what will be his next body? Because even fish will, I don't know whether fish will be thinking that he wants to be that person.
No. So that is the reason why everyone says, right, that you must preach, you must preach. The whole point I will make you understand. So when we actually go into the animal body, it's not like just I will go into fish body and then I'll come back. You have to go into each and every fish body. Then, and I guess I'm not exactly sure on this. I will have to confirm that if you have gone into all the fish body, then you also go through all the other forms, right? And then you get a human form of life. So we can understand, let's say if I get a turtle body, after many fish bodies, let's say if I get a turtle body, now turtle lives for long years, right? Every living entity has a specific life, right? Like for example, some dogs live for 10 years, some dog lives for 20 years. So if I get into the dog body, then I will have to go into the each and every species of dog body.
Oh,
And then, yes, that is why someone says this preaching activity that Prabhupada has given us. This is so important because when we give Krishna consciousness to someone, even to a dog, it makes sure then that living entity is going to get a human form of life immediately. Next life, he is going to get a human form of life. And that particular person, let's say if he was going to go back to Godhead after millions of years, it can happen even in just 2 lifetimes. 1 or 2 lifetimes. So just understand where is millions of lifetimes and where is 2 lifetimes, right? So this is why Krishna consciousness is urgent. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Prabhupada, right? When Prabhupada said that first India should get independent and then we should preach this knowledge. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj mentioned that no, Krishna consciousness should not wait for any other thing. Krishna consciousness is most urgent, most important. Why? Because this is something which is actually going to make you go back to Godhead. Be it independence of a nation, be it any other thing, it will not make you go back to Godhead. In fact, it is going to bound you even more in the material. So this death thing, Mataji, I guess you can hear, Prashant Mukund Prabhuji has given a very nice death series. Prashant Mukund Prabhuji from ISKCON Dwarka. He has
Okay.
given a proper death series. There are, I guess, 4 or 5 lectures. There he gives all the details from the very start. What happens when we actually die? Then how is the subtle body taken to hell? In what ways? Then what
Very
happens when you
fearful,
reach?
Mataji.
Sorry.
Very fearful to hear it. Fear.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying, that you can hear it because it in very detail in Garud Puran, all of these things are mentioned. So from Garud Puran only Prabhuji tells, and this particular science is very detailed actually. It is very what we can say, it is given in detail, but it's the only thing that we are not able to understand it very early. Very late we understand the importance of Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. So if we do a very good bhakti and at the end of our death time, we by mistake we remember something and we go in some other form, will that bhakti help us? Maybe at
So
the last
there
moment.
is a verse, Neha Bhikramana Chosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. Swalpam, even if you do small bhakti, let's say if you just completed 5% in this lifetime, it is very much sure that we are going to get. So now, the whole point, what I'm going to say now, do not think that if I'm not able to complete bhakti, okay, I can complete in the next life, because next life is going to be even more miserable, right? I will tell you how.
Yes.
But the whole point is the bhakti is not lost. Whatever bhakti that we are doing right now in this life, it is not going to get lost. So even if I'm able to do, let's say 20%, 50%, 100%, 90% bhakti, still in the next life, I will get all the provisions. Provisions in the way of getting birth in the devotee family, or getting environment devotional activities, getting the association of sadhus from very early age. This type of environment we will get. So then it would be very easy to practice bhakti from the childhood itself. But the other point which I was saying, that it is not going to be so easy later also. So Amrendra Prabhuji gives this example, that what about Bilva Mangal Thakur? So let's not Bilva Mangal Thakur, let's say Surdas. Surdas were not able to see. Just imagine, if you're not able to see, you will never be able to see the beautiful form of Krishna, the beautiful deity of Krishna, ever in your life. If you even become a devotee in the next life, but you are not able to see Krishna, just imagine what would be our condition. It would be so difficult. If we do not even think that I will be a devotee in the next life, but if we think that in the next life, let's say, uh, based on how you can see the Kali Yuga is progressing, right? Kali Yuga is degrading at a very high pace. What will happen even if you take birth after 60 years, let's say after 60 or 100 years, if you take birth again in a next body, how difficult it would be at that point of time. Already there are so many sufferings, and there are so many distractions, and bhakti is so simple, but bhakti has become difficult because of Kali Yuga's influence as of now. After 100 years, the Kali Yuga's influence will increase. So how difficult it would become for us to practice bhakti in the later life. So that is why Anand Vrindavan Prabhuji says कि खत्म करो, इसी लाइफ टाइम में खत्म करो भक्ति, इतने अच्छे से करना है, तीव्र ना भक्ति योगे ना, तीव्र ना, we have to be very much serious about bhakti, then Krishna will help. So at the time of death, even if I forget Krishna, Krishna will not forget me. This he tells in 8th chapter. 8th chapter Krishna tells that even if a person is devoted to him, and if he has done activities to please the Lord, let's say if I go in coma, or if I am unconscious at the time of death, I cannot remember Krishna, right? But then Krishna will remember me. And there are many instances also. There have been many devotees who were in such a situation where they had so much, even Ajamil, yeah, but there were so many other devotees now also. Ajamil is someone in scripture, but even now you can see there are so many devotees who had been sincere in their life, but at the time of death, they were in so much bodily suffering that it was almost impossible for them to remember Krishna. But somehow some devotee would come with Charnamrit at the last fag end of their life, or there would be some particular person. There was an example: a nurse came and said Hare Krishna to a devotee, and then
Okay.
just after the nurse said, that devotee left his life, left his body. So this is how Krishna is remembering you. By through others also Krishna is remembering you. Krishna is making you remember him, even if you forget him. So we have to have faith. If I'm working for Krishna, if I'm really trying to please Krishna, it's not for my fame, for my opulence, for my what knowledgeable this particular devotee is. I'm not doing for myself. I'm only doing for Krishna. If I am sincere in my effort of pleasing Krishna, then Krishna will definitely help.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Even
Yes,
for
Mataji.
Bhishma Pitamaha, he wanted to see Lord at his last stage. So Krishna comes and gives his darshan.
Yes, that is also there. Yes, Mataji. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of this only.
Yes,
That is
very
why I'm
nice.
telling.
Beautiful
hearing-
stories, Mataji. Very nice.
Yes. When we hear Bhagavatam, our faith
Yes.
becomes strong. All
Yes.
the doubts that we are having right now, right? All those doubts will go away when we hear Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is giving the details of life of devotees.
Yes,
Right.
Mataji.
So then
Ma-
we see
Mataji,
that,
one
oh,
more
that
thing.
devotee. Uh-huh.
Yes. Bharata, deer and Jadabharata. Again, the same thing what you have said all now. Bharata takes birth of deer because of remembering deer, and then he becomes again man, he becomes human being, and then at that time he will get the salvation, deliberation.
Yes, so Jad Bharat story, that is something which has to be understood in very, very detail, because
but-
we also see that how Krishna is helping him, that even in the body of deer, he doesn't forget his identity. He remembers that he fall down from his position of being a very high devotee to becoming a deer because of his attachment to a deer, right? So that is a very important story to understand how attachments pull us down, even after coming in bhakti.
For such a great Bhaktavan, it happened. What about us, Mataji?
Mataji, we have to have faith. If we think that, see,
No, we have faith, but
yes, because if we think that if so high devotees are
yes,
getting, why Krishna gives very big examples is to make us understand that agar humne, matlab, even if we are not falling down in such a bad level, still
Yes.
there are chances of, there is hope of liberation.
Yes.
Still there are chances. This is what Krishna
Yes.
is trying to make us understand.
Yes.
The Pandavas are going through so much suffering. The level of suffering they had, we are not having that much of suffering. But
Yes, Mataji.
the whole point is to understand the consciousness they had in those sufferings. Yes. Okay, so I guess I have extended a lot today, almost half an hour. So I'm really sorry. If there are any more further questions, we can take it in the next class. And if there are any comments, suggestions, anything, you can also let me know through WhatsApp. You can let me know in comments also through YouTube. And thank you so much for joining in. I'm very, as I mentioned every time, and it's not repetitive. I'm speaking from my heart that I'm very grateful to all of you, only because of you, I am also able to go deep dive into the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and I'm really getting bliss in understanding this. So thank you so much for helping me. Also move ahead. Please pray for me that I speak big things, but I should also realize them. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya
Patitanam
pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo.
Namo.
Hare
Jai
Krishna,
Vaishnav
Mataji.
Vrinda ki jai,
Thank you,
Shri
Mataji.
Prabhupada ki jai,
Dandavat
Bhagavad
Pranam.
Gita ki jai.